Salvete discipuli. In this lesson, I will give you an overview of the life and important literary works of the poet Publius Vergilius Maro, commonly known as Virgil. His Aeneid is what we will be studying for the remainder of this year. Here's your introduction to Virgil, the famous first line of the Aeneid. Arma virumque cano, I sing of arms and the man. Publius Vergilius Maro was born on October 15th in 70 BC in Mantua, a city in Cisalpine Gaul, modern northern Italy. So this region right here. He's known for three works. The first of them is called the Eclogues, also known as the Bucolics. It is Virgil's earliest work, published most likely around 39 or 38 BC. It consists of 10 short poems in a pastoral setting. So Virgil was himself interested in farming. That's what he did in his earlier life, and he wrote poems about it. A famous line that comes from the Eclogues or the Bucolics is, Omnia vincit amor, et nos cedamus amori. Love conquers all, let us too yield to love. His next work was known as the Georgics. It was published in 29 BC. It's the second major work by Virgil. The main subject is, once again, rural life and farming. A famous quote from it is, Sed fugit in terrea, fugit irreparabile tempus. But meanwhile flies away, irreplaceable time. So the fact is, this is the first instance of tempus fugit, time flies, okay? The poet Horace is the one who will say those words exactly in that order, but he was basically quoting Virgil when he did it. Tempus fugit, time flies, comes ultimately from Virgil. The political poet. Virgil, through his wealthy patron Maecenas, became a friend of the Emperor Augustus and was urged by both to write an epic poem in praise of the values of the Roman Empire. So the Greeks had two epic poems. They had the Iliad, which was about the Trojan War, and they had the Odyssey, which was about Odysseus's travels back to Ithaca. Rome, which was obviously ruling the entire known world, didn't have an epic poem, and Augustus and Maecenas believed it needed one, and Virgil was obviously the man to write it. The Aeneid is the work that they commissioned. Now, they would have been paying Virgil a living wage, a nice living wage, as he then wrote. It was written between 29 and 19 BC. The Aeneid fuses the legends of Rome's origins with the story of the Trojan Aeneas's journey to Italy. Aeneas was a Trojan prince who escaped with a band of refugees after the Greeks conquered Troy. And it is believed he made his way to Italy, and Virgil's basically writing that story and saying that it was the ultimate, origin myth, so to speak, of Rome. So along the way in this work, he liberally praises the Emperor Augustus and the new order he had brought to the Roman realm. Now, every epic poem has what's called a prologue, and Virgil imitates Homer's use of the muse. The muse is like this divine figure who inspires people to write things. And the idea is, even though it's poetry, it's normal in these epic prologues to use the verb to sing, and we already had it. Cano virumque, arma virumque cano. So I sing of arms and the men. Cano means to sing. So look at the Iliad. Sing, O goddess, the anger of Achilles, son of Peleus, that brought countless ills upon the Achaeans. the first line of an epic poem should actually be almost like a summary of the whole thing. So once again, the muse is brought in the prologue of the Odyssey. Tell me, O muse, of that ingenious hero who traveled far and wide after he sacked the famous town of Troy. So again, the very first line tells you the whole story. Arma virumque cano, I sing of arms and the man. That's what the whole Aeneid's going to be about. It's going to be about the wars and particularly the man Aeneas. Let's meet the cast. So, Aeneas is the one this is all written about. We call it the Aeneid, meaning the book about Aeneas. He's the hero of our story. Aeneas flees from the fallen city of Troy with his father Anchises and his son Ascanius. He will eventually reach Italy and found the city of Lavinium. He is an ancestor to Romulus and Remus. The love interest, Queen Dido of Carthage. We will learn very early in the story that the Trojans become refugees on the shores of North Africa, where Queen Dido of Carthage is going to give them asylum, and there will be a love story between Dido and Aeneas. She is depicted in art with a sword because she will eventually take her own life after Aeneas breaks her heart. Anchises was the father of Aeneas. The image of Aeneas carrying his old and infirm father was a popular artistic theme. Venus was the mother of Aeneas. She helps her son in every way she can against the equally strong efforts against him by Juno. Juno knows that if Aeneas is successful, her beloved Carthage will one day be destroyed. We will talk more about that in the days to come. On September 21st, 19 BC, Virgil dies of a fever in the port of Brundisium. Contrary to the poet's wishes, Augustus orders the Aeneid preserved. Before his death, Virgil had written his own fitting epitaph. Cecini Pascua rura duces. I sang of flocks, fields, rulers. Virgil lives on. Dante makes Virgil his guide through hell and purgatory in his work, The Inferno. John Milton's Paradise Lost, written in the 17th century, is an epic in the English language, and so because he knows what is required of epics, the opening lines of this work are clearly patterned off the epic prologue of man's first disobedience and the fruit of that forbidden tree whose mortal taste brought death into the world and all our woe, with loss of Eden, till one greater man restore us and regain the blissful seat. Sing, heavenly muse. So there we have it again. The muse is asked to sing the epic poem. Alexander Pope was a poet of the 17th century, and this British poet makes a parody of epic poems in general. Like all good parody, it is funny because it imitates the form. What dire offense from amorous causes springs, what mighty contests rise from trivial things. I sing, you see, there he knows. If it's an epic poem, you have to sing. This verse to carol, muse, he includes the muse, is due. Okay? Modern cinema. The movie Alexander opens with a quote from the Aeneid. Fortune favors the bold. Audentes fortuna juvat. In the movie Troy, Orlando Bloom's Paris is depicted giving the sword of Troy to Aeneas. This has no basis from the Iliad, but it is a reflection of the Aeneid story of the Trojans living to fight another day through the Romans. And apparently the writers and producers had intended to make a sequel to Troy that was the story of the Aeneid, but they never got around to actually making it. The legacy of the Aeneid. To the current day, Latin study aims principally to prepare students to read this pinnacle of Roman literature. It is a work of disarmingly deep emotion, a story of tragedy and triumph, destiny and duty, and the simple piety of a man driven by fate. Aeneas himself, recounting his travails, told Dido words of prophetic import. Forsan et haec olim meminisse juvabit. Perhaps the remembrance of these things will prove a source of future pleasure.